Welcome back to my Final Fantasy XIV drama series. Today's drama story is about the Courtesan. Warning, this is a not safe for work story. When I first started playing Final Fantasy, it was my first MMO, and I really didn't know how anything worked. I didn't know how to play a class. I just pushed buttons. I wore gear that was half mage and half tank, like a hobo. And just doing my best to move through the story. I would not know the meaning of things that people said to me. I had questions like, what's a dot? What's an AoE? What does DPS stand for? What does worst healer NA mean? Many people have helped me along the way, which I didn't expect. And now I feel like I know a lot about the game since I continued to play for about 6 years now. What I also didn't expect was the unusual, intimate, and often disturbing interactions I would have with other people playing the game, and how much it affected me and made the game feel so real for me. This was a little before I had gotten to Heavensward. I was standing by the Aetherite in Mordona, and someone started sending me tells. "Hi, cutie," they said. I was flattered. I wasn't really accustomed to anyone talking to me at all. He positioned his character close to mine and petted me. That's already kind of creepy, but like so forward straight away. "We should go somewhere more private," he said. I felt my stomach flip over. He said, "Let's go to Costa." And he led me to a secluded cove in Costa del Sol near Curious George. Curious George must have been pretty curious about what we were doing there, because Snow began to run his hands over my body, describing it in text. I responded saying I was arcing my back in pleasure and moaning saying, And he was saying, "Ugh, you're so hot. Ugh." He described putting his hand around my neck and choking me while doing me against the rocks. Wait, this sounds like that other ERP story that I read out. I described to him about getting my mouth all slimy while gagging on his private part. It's all written here, by the way, but I'm, censoring it a little bit. He was saying, "Ugh." We exchanged a very hot and heavy kind of chat for many Eorzean days and nights. So about a couple of hours, the sun kept rising and setting and rising and setting. I was just swept away by this. I didn't even know you could do things like this in the game, and at first I was worried, thinking we might get in trouble for it. Afterwards, this person, we will call him Snow, started sending me Moogle mails with little gifts in them. He would send me glamour crystals, minions, and gil, and was very sweet. I was caught up in it and couldn't wait to log in to see if he wrote to me. We screwed all over Eorzea outside in weird little hiding places like caves, abandoned buildings. Okay, go off. We decided to join the same FC together, and the FC was very social and everyone played together all the time. In the FC, I met someone. We will call her Ivy. Ivy was a tank and she took a shine to me and wanted to help me unlock the level 50 roulettes, which at the time you had to complete 17 dungeons to unlock. At the time, I really didn't know much, and now that I reflect on it, neither did anyone else. We would struggle through dungeons like Karn hard and die over and over, but it was fun, and Ivy seemed to always want to play with me. Snow, on the other hand, seemed to always want to not play with me. When he was online, he seemed to always be busy doing something else, but he still would ask me to do things for him. He asked me to buy a room at our FC for us, which meant giving him 300k gil, and then he was the one who had all the permissions and ability to design the room. I was just supposed to stay in there. We would have our ERP in there, and he liked when I sat on top of him on the glade bed. That is a bed you can sit on, so useful for that purpose. Or when I stood underneath the shower and took my clothes off. but the sex was getting rougher and rougher. Like, I had to check the title of this word pad for a second because I was like, am I reading that other am I reading that other story? Okay, just like certain lines just felt similar. He started to slap me in the face during it, and as soon as he finished with me, he would queue for a duty and disappear. He was obsessed with mount farming and came back every day, it seemed like, with a new pony. And he would jump up on the top of the gate in the FC yard and show it off to everyone. Back in those days, you farmed for all those original ponies from Garuda, Ifrit, etc. Those duties were not unsynced. It took forever. It's kind of like these days when you try to farm for the lynxes. Snow would never take me with him, although I longed to go. He would often be talking to me and then disappear into a duty without even thinking to invite me. Okay, let me see what chat's saying right now. LMAO. Tour de ERP. 7 hells. Oh my god, exhibitionist. Let's keep going. When I did do duties with him, he was always overly either friendly or aggressive to other players. And if I ever did say anything, later he would reprimand me for it. Oh my goodness. He would blow kisses and hug other female characters. Just randoms that we would meet in the dungeon, and it made me jealous. If I blew him a kiss in a dungeon, he would ignore me. But if a random gave him attention, he would be all over it. I got the feeling that he didn't want anyone to know that we were with each other at all. I started to do pathetic things to try get his attention. I would summon my chocobo, and it would look as if I was in a party with someone. This doesn't happen anymore, but it used to be that way. And then I would go into a house somewhere and wait. Inevitably, he would start sending me angry tells asking who I was with and what I was doing. So I got his attention. LOL. Of course, then I didn't know what to do with it since he was angry and jealous, but I got a little satisfaction from it. I know this sounds really strange. I had never experienced anything like this virtual world, and I was completely caught up in it. I often couldn't distinguish what were real feelings and what was pretending or role-playing. I started to confide in Ivy, my friend from the FC, and spend more and more time with her. She agreed with me that Snow was flirty with people all the time, and she made me feel okay for being upset about it. Ivy had a whole slew of personal issues that she started to lay on me pretty heavily. Family issues and things. She would dominate my time, sending me tells all night long, and hours go by where I did nothing but listen to her. She started to act like she was developing really intense feelings for me. Her tells started to say things like, I love you so much. Please don't ever leave me. And I didn't really know what to say, so I kind of skirted around this stuff, playing it off a little, chalking it up to her role-playing. She was still monopolizing my time online, wanting to play together all the time. Snow didn't seem to mind me having a bestie. In fact, he encouraged it, so I kept going along with it. One day, Ivy and I were standing outside the private chamber's door in the FC house, and Snow walked up to us. I blew a kiss to Ivy with the standard emote, and then she did a custom emote back to me. She wrote, Ivy kisses you softly back. It's like the little text in the chat. Snow went, whoa, as he was highly entertained by this new turn of events. Yeah, so that got weird. I wasn't really sure I wanted to go there, meaning a menage a trois. But Snow seemed intrigued, and I was confused about how I felt about that. I wanted to excite him, but I also was very insecure. That evening, the three of us went to someone's private house and were sitting in the hot tub, and Snow and Ivy started flirting heavily with each other right in front of me. Snow said to Ivy, "You're a dirty bitch, I bet." This is so funny. And described running his hand up her leg underneath the steamy water. Ivy responded with, Ivy kisses Snow softly with her soft pink tongue. My heart began to pound. I could barely control myself. I jumped out of that tub and ran down the housing area street until I hit a wall and couldn't go any further. I was shocked and crying and completely messed up about it. Ivy came after me with a bunch of apologetic tells, but I was pretty upset. How could they just do that with no thought for how I might feel? I had been confiding in Ivy about how flirtatious Snow could be with other girls in the game, and she agreed that she thought it was a little bit much, especially seeing as he was carrying on with me, and what we both agreed was playing with my feelings. The next day, Snow asked me to wait in the room for him. He came back to the room after fighting a dungeon where I was there waiting and said I had been so good and patient with him that he was going to marry me. I had really wanted that and I was thrilled, but then he said that he had very little money IRL. So I bought the eternal bonding ceremony for the both of us. We had a huge wedding and almost everyone in the FC came to it, as it was a very social FC and we had a tradition of attending weddings. Afterwards, I thought that maybe things might calm down. Snow had chosen me, right? And everyone knew it. He made it public, right? Unfortunately, Snow did not let up at all on his flirtatious activities with other female characters. I would ring to him with the teleport ring, and while my game was loading me into the zone, I would see in chat, Snow embraces so-and-so, using the embrace emote that we got at the wedding, embracing female characters while I was not around. I wasn't crazy about it, but it did hurt my feelings pretty bad. I started to be really unhappy, and I was still confiding in Ivy. Meanwhile, wait, how is she still confiding in Ivy after what happened? Meanwhile, the FC got a new member. We will call him Dane. Dane was really nice and started paying attention to me. And since I was pretty much all alone all the time, while Snow was out flirting and doing whatever, I was enjoying a bit of attention. We ended up going to Courtesan one day, and we were just standing there talking when Snow showed up and immediately started grilling me over the coals. He was furious that I was standing there too close to another male character. He told me I had ruined Courtesan for him. Ruined the whole area. Dane jumped right into my defense of this pretty innocent behavior, but then later Dane tried to kiss me. I was upset, so I let him and let myself get carried away again with Dane. We went up to the top of a high tower in Courtesan and started passionately kissing each other, entwining our tongues, and me massaging his body with my strong, cool fingers. Dane was enamored with me and my newly acquired ERP skills. I ended up cutting it short with Dane though, and going back to Snow because as much as I wanted to, I couldn't bring myself to leave Snow. Dane seemed hurt and confused, but he backed off and let me continue digging my own grave. I confronted Snow often about these flirty interactions he would have with other female characters right in front of me, and also questioned him about what he did when I wasn't there. He continued to try to say that I was the one who was cheating, as he was fixated on me having found Dane in Courtesan, and continuing to beat me up about it, and angry that I had ruined that zone for him forever. I told Snow that Ivy agreed with me that his behavior was much worse than mine when it came to flirting outside of our relationship, and he clapped back with saying, well, she isn't even your real friend because she seduced me and we ERP'd. What? I couldn't believe this. He told me that she had put her boots on his shoulders and he had gone down on her while holding her in midair, and slightly unrealistic sexual descriptions of positions that of course upset me greatly. I went running to Ivy right away to ask her about this. She admitted that it was true and that she felt intensely guilty about it. I just couldn't believe that my friend, after me confiding in her with Snow about how Snow was always making me jealous with other girls, that she would actually engage in ERP with Snow behind my back. I felt an intense betrayal from Ivy and began to ignore her. Even though that might not seem fair, I cared more about Snow than I did about her. I look over to chat for a second. You guys are funny. Ivy started to freak out that I was ignoring her. She started to send me Moogle mails that said things like, Snow has his evil claws sunk into you again. But I am your real friend who cares about you. Please forgive me. I will die if you don't. I still ignored Ivy. I didn't know what to do. I was just completely blindsided by the whole thing. Soon after, I noticed other FC members acting strangely towards me, distant, and so soon as I asked about it, they told me that Ivy had told them in the FC chat that she had cancer. Not only that, but she told everyone in the FC that I had cruelly made fun of her cancer and that I was bipolar and delusional. Whoa, that became really intense fast. This came as a complete surprise to me. I didn't even know she had cancer. Since she told everyone that, they didn't really believe me when I tried to defend myself. It doesn't sound convincing when I say, I'm totally not bipolar and delusional. It actually did make me feel bipolar and delusional, since I felt like everyone was turning against me, and I didn't really think I did anything wrong, although I'm not going to say that everything I did was right. The next thing that happened is that Ivy and Dane announced that they were getting married. Dane was completely now against me, as Ivy had told him these crazy stories about me making fun of her cancer and being bipolar and delusional. I imagine he wasn't too fond of me to begin with. However, it was shocking to me that after what she had done to me, which I felt was pretty much a betrayal of our friendship, that then I was sitting there defending myself to people who didn't really seem to believe me, since her story had come first and was very convincing, apparently. I felt like I had to leave the FC then, which was pretty painful for me. I felt like I had really grown up there as a player, and it was sad, but I wanted to get far away from Ivy as possible, and she seemed to have poised the entire FC against me with these stories she made up about me. Snow was my best friend and really supportive through this though, and said he would leave with me. Snow got a deal on an FC house in the Mist, which then meant we were on our own FC, but no other people. So I was really isolated, and I literally felt like an isolated housewife, gardening in the garden plot and doing little things for my husband while he went out and fought bosses and did dungeons, trying to level all his classes. We communicated a lot through Moogle Mail because he lived in a country that was far away from mine, and we played usually at quite different times of the day. He was pretty controlling and would insist that I end all my tells to him in a smiley face. Otherwise, he accused me of being sulky. He seemed bored with me and wasn't very interested in having the ERP as much anymore. He wanted me to just kneel down in front of him and nod my head, which made it look as though I was giving him a blowjob. While looking up at him and my character saying, over and over, instead of me typing in any descriptions or emotions. He said that he thought that was hotter than me talking. Oh my god, that's so insulting. When he was finished, after he would come, he would rush off to a dungeon. I felt like he was losing interest, although he still expressed that he wanted me to live in the house with him and be his wifey. He told me he loved me all the time, but the truth was I was just really lonely and unfulfilled by this role. Man, just seems like he's just like keeping you there. Can't just live like that. This is feeling like a real IRL thing, but it's all in the game. I was happy and grateful to meet the people who lived in the FC house that was next door to us, which were new people for me to interact with and start making some friends there. There was a couple who always played together. We will call them Fable and Desire. And I started to play with them. They asked me to come and do Ravana X with some friends of theirs, and we were on a voice chat. It was on TeamSpeak back then, and the leader called the fight over and over until we finally cleared. The scholar book dropped and I got it. I was so thrilled and I couldn't wait to tell Snow. When Snow logged on, I told him I cleared Ravana X, thinking he would be so proud of me. But he was angry, saying I was supposed to wait for him so we could clear it together. I was confused because he really never said any of that. Or if he did, I didn't remember. But I backpedaled and apologized up and down and felt bad about it. I invited him to come play with us, and one day he did. We spent a whole day playing as a foursome, and afterwards he told me that Desire had sent him some tells. What? Why? Like I said, he was from another country, and I guess that Desire knew what country he was from, and that guys were mainly uncircumcised in that country, and she had apparently sent him a tell saying that she liked uncut penises. What the heck? What country is that? What the hell? I was in disbelief and thought he must be making it up, but he insisted it was true. I was upset, and in that state, well, I decided I would tell her boyfriend. So I sent Fable a message about it, and his reaction was kind of the same as mine. Disbelief. But then he confronted Desire about it. They got into a big fight. And then Fable was really sad. And so was I. So we queued for a dungeon together. And we got Snowcloak. That's a beautiful dungeon, Snowcloak. Something happened in Snowcloak, which I thought was the most romantic dungeon. I love the music, the warrens, and the icy snow environments. Fable and I had a moment in there. He stopped, and I stopped, and time seemed to stop. He brushed the hair from my face and enveloped me in a passionate kiss. I was taken aback, but I was also swept away, and it felt good. It started a romance between us, which I really thought was mainly because we were just both hurt at the time. But what was I going to do about Snow? After a lot of soul searching, I told Snow what was going on, and of course, he wasn't pleased, and it hurt him. I felt awful. We split up things in the house. He was reasonable about me taking sentimental things, and I did. It wasn't fun. It was like a real divorce, but it was done, and I was hanging out with Fable now, except things were far from perfect. Fable and Desire were still talking, and it seemed like just a huge mess that I had gotten myself into. I realized that maybe Fable was interested in me, but he certainly was not finished with Desire, and I really thought they would get back together. Fable and I were hanging out in Costa, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw Snow galloping by on a pony. Fable and I were hanging out in Thanalan, and I saw Snow running by and then disappear. Everywhere we would be, I started to see Snow lurking around. I felt like my whole world was just out of control and crazy. I couldn't relax and have fun at all. I decided one night that I would just disappear and go start over. I felt that everyone would be okay, that Snow would be okay, that Fable would be okay. I just needed to get away from everything and from everyone. So I transferred to Balmung in the middle of the night, and I didn't tell anyone. Am I the drama? Looks like it, but I was on a new server with new people, and not just any server. I was on Balmung, the RP server, and it was really different. The first night I was there, I attended a fight night where they used the /random to fight each other, D&D style, like dice. Everyone was talking and playing their character in such depth and detail. It was a completely new world. I felt like a stranger in a strange land. I was an Elysian, and for some reason, there were people that hated Elysian on Balmung. They would call me names like Giraffe and Cum Bucket. Why Cum Bucket? I feel like I have to read that line again because I laughed. They would call me names like Giraffe and Cum Bucket when I came around the steps bordering the quicksand. I joined an FC on Balmung just to have some people to play with. Unfortunately, I never felt like I fit in and that I had just plopped myself into another uncomfortable place. But then, guess who had transferred to Balmung too? Snow. He popped up and said a merry hello to me. To my surprise, at first I thought that he followed me to Balmung to try to get me back, but he had actually been there for a while when I saw him and was working at a club. He told me he was a male courtesan now. I was still not really recovered from the breakup with him, so this made me upset. A male courtesan? Who is getting paid by females to have cyber sex now? Is that a thing? I asked. He assured me it was, and that he was paid well, since he was so good. Whatever. But then, I had to know. One night, I saw that he was in a private chambers, and I went to the house. The door wasn't locked. He used to lock the door when we ERP'd so no one could disturb us, but he had left it open. I went in. There was a wall, so I could not see him. But then the chat appeared. He was behind the wall with 2 other people, presumably girls, or at least playing female characters. The chat showed them describing the 2 of the girls licking up and down his thing, one on each side. He was moaning, "Ugh!" My heart was in my throat. What in the world was I doing? I ran like hell out of that room. Well, click like hell. Exit! Leave private chambers! Exit! Exit! After I did that, I tried to concentrate on myself and enjoy being on Balmung. I tried to RP, write a backstory, tried to get more into raiding, and I tried to make some friends. Fable was really upset with me for transferring like I did, but he got back with Desire right away, so that probably would have happened anyway. I knew our little tryst only happened because we were both hurt at the time. I want to go to the chat for a second here because that was wild. How did I even carry on reading after that freaking paragraph? She saw the chat. Oh man, just like peeking, like I could just like imagine like this Final Fantasy character going to the private chambers, just like peeking around the corner, like, get me out of here. This is a 18+ story right now. While running a dungeon one day, I ran into an officer from my old FC, the one we had started at, the one where I had felt ostracized because of Ivy. Before leaving, the officer and I stayed in the instance and chatted. They told me that Ivy and Dane were no longer at the FC and that I was welcome back there. I immediately left Balmung and went back to my old server. I ran to the FC house and the first thing I did was buy a room and throw all my things in it. My rugs, my stuffed animals, and my music box, and I curled up on the bed, safe at home, back where I belonged. I thought things were back to kind of normal. I had gotten back to my beloved FC and I felt redeemed. Months went by, but then I heard that Snow had returned to our server again, and I had heard about it in a very unusual way. There was a Facebook group for people in our server, and a girl who was on there posted a screenshot of a conversation that she had with another character while she was in the gold saucer. It went like this. "Hey cutie," it began. Uh-oh, that sounded awfully familiar. "Want to make a million, Gil? I have millions," this person said. "We could have a great time. You look sexy. I would like to bend you over." Imagine someone saying that to you out of the blue instantly. Jesus. This person kept sending her tells and propositioning her even when she said no. Guess who that person was? It was Snow, but he had changed his name to Lust. I looked in my friends list and there it was, his new name, because I never deleted him from my friends list. After she posted this, other people came forward to say that they had a similar interaction with him. I've often wondered how many of those people were men playing female characters and were like, "Bruh, back off, I'm a dude." But one of those people was a girl in our FC, and she and her boyfriend, who was pissed as hell about it, and possibly other people as well, reported Snow for harassment of other characters, and his character was banned from the game forever. The end. That dude is something else. This whole story, I told you guys it was gonna be a juicy one, right? I do know that some people use this game as a dating thing. Maybe they catch feelings with other people. That's up to them. I'm not against that, but I like, you know, some people don't do that, obviously, but some people do, and that's fine. But just be careful, you know, just be careful. These people, you probably don't really know them that well. It honestly seemed like the OP told Snow everything, and Snow obviously wasn't doing that. It's not like Snow would tell the OP everything he was doing. He was clearly like messing around with so many women in the game and just sending tells like that to people all over the world. If we're treating this as a real life relationship, because I think that's how it was going for them in the game, I would say that it was very one-sided, that the OP was loyal to Snow for ages and Snow obviously wasn't, and she got bored, and that's why she had the other feelings for other people. And then she left, bumped into it seems like Snow just follows her also. Like there's that too. He's just like, I want you there. I want to keep you. You're mine. Just stay there while I go and mingle with other girls. I hope OP gives some time to get to know someone before your feelings get too into. Because I think OP is the type to fall for someone pretty easily. There was that part where I was like, well, after Ivy and Snow did that thing together, I was like, why did the OP still talk to Ivy? I would have been like, no, I trusted you, friend. And then you went to like do things with her guy instead of say, dude, he's a dick. Just break up with him. Who even knows at this point? Yeah, there's a lot of wrong in every probably person in this story. I mean, even the OP said like they didn't do everything right. A learning lesson for everyone, I think, in this story. Wait, why isn't Ellison called a cum bucket? That's my question. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this Final Fantasy XIV drama story. If you have any of your own drama stories that you'd like me to share and read out anonymously, feel free to reach out to my Discord, discord.gg/Pathra. And a big thank you to my kind members who support my YouTube content.